Peruvian food is the best. It's amazing. It is so good. Sometimes there's a few places that are better than Colombian food, and don't tell my mom that. But there are some amazing foods there, and there's amazing food in Colombia too that I've grown up with. But there's let's see, I guess I could state a couple of my favorites. There's lomo saltado, which is like it's French fries with I almost want to say it's like fajitas without the whatchamacallit, the tortilla. But they put French fries with lomo saltado, which is that like the fajita and the onions and peppers and whatever, and then you eat a lot of ají there, which is a spicy little sauce that they use. It's funny because before my mission, I hated spicy food. I couldn't eat anything spicy. But then during my mission, they feed you ají with everything, and they don't force you to eat it, but I would just dare myself little by little to just keep trying it because they would say it was so good, and they put it on everything. And so, anyways, now I've come home, and I love spicy foods. I go to Taco Time, and I ask for the hottest, and it's great. It just feels like such a great accomplishment that I can eat spicy food now, thanks to Peru. But Peruvian food is super good. It's very seasoned. It's very, very seasoned. The funny thing, the joke down there is that all their plates are made out of chicken, potato, and rice. And it kind of is, actually, like most of their plates is chicken, potato, and rice. If it's mashed potatoes or French fries, or if it's just sliced potatoes, or if it's diced potatoes, or if the chicken is baked, or if it's cooked, or if it's fried, or if it's whatever it is. They have so many different plates, but it's funny because most of it really is just chicken, potatoes, and rice. So anyways, it's great. It's awesome. The food is great. Yeah, lots of earthquakes. Not lots, but just small. They're just really small earthquakes. I remember in the MDC just laying down one night, and all of a sudden I felt everything shake, and I was like, Hermana? I was like patting underneath, and I was like, what was that? And she's like, oh, it's nothing, it's nothing. She didn't even feel it, but I felt it. And they're just really small. I mean, they're super, super subtle. If you're not laying down or standing still, you might not feel it. Some of them are a little bit harder than others. I remember being out in the field, and it was a harder, small earthquake, and it doesn't last very long. It's just a couple of seconds. And I just remember the earthquake happening, and my companion, we had like this little patio, and I was inside the room watching her through my window, washing like a dish, and she was outside like grabbing something. I think she was cooking. I don't even remember. But I just remember she was just right outside the door, and this earthquake started to happen, and I freaked out. I was like, we're gonna die! And I saw these ladies like running out of their homes with their kids in their hands, just screaming, just screaming. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they're just like screaming, because when there's earthquakes like that, you have to go out to the street, because a lot of the homes aren't stable enough, and they'll fall. And so the best thing to do is just to go out into the street. And so that's the safety that they teach you. Well, I didn't know that. I thought that you're supposed to go into the doorway like I've been taught here in Utah. So I'm just like grabbing the door for my dear life, and I'm like, Hermana Smithy! And she's laughing her head off, because she knows that these earthquakes only last for a few seconds. I mean, 4 or 7 seconds, 10 at the most maybe. It's just a couple seconds long. And she was just laughing because she knew that it wasn't a big deal at all. And I was just like terrified. And she's like, this is normal. This is going to happen a lot during the mission, so don't worry about it. And so anyways, it's just like little shakes. It's like if you're like in a waterbed and somebody just slaps it and it's just a little shake. It's not a big deal at all, but it scared me at first. There was a lot of slang that I didn't know. And so I just remember just some of my companions would be excited because I already spoke Spanish. But they would just say a whole paragraph, and I would just be sitting there thinking, is this Spanish? This is Spanish, right? Because there's a whole bunch of words I didn't get there, and there's just a lot of slang there. And I guess part of it, too, is that my mom, she grew up in a very formal home, and so she obviously knew a lot of slang, but she didn't teach a lot of slang to us because she speaks a little bit more of a formal Spanish. And so I grew up more in that mindset, I guess, and so I don't know a lot of slang, not even a lot of Colombian slang. And Peru, there was just a ton of slang that I didn't know, and they would just use it as normal words all the time. So I guess that was one thing that I felt like was different, and the accent is really different from a Colombian accent. So I felt like some of the words are chopped off a little quicker than what I was used to. I think the Latin culture in general has a very loving, embracing type of personality, you know. And they're just always just hugging you, and they just give you the kiss on the cheek, and it's great. It's just so warm and loving. In the area that I was in, specifically in Lima, it's a dangerous area, and so a lot of the homes are barred or gated or with 5 locksmith locks, and it's just very, very kind of people. A lot of people are very closed when it comes to safety, and so typically, I mean, we didn't. To be honest, we didn't knock on a lot of doors because it's hard to even just get past them. They don't even open the front door. You know, and our mission president would suggest us to do in several other ways by contacting and working through members and less actives and stuff. But it's a very kind of a closed community, I guess you could say. It's different from the providences in Peru, where people are outside and they're just talking, and you know, it's a different lifestyle. And it's a little bit more of a safer environment, I guess you could say. But inside of Lima, to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of robbing and stealing. I mean, I don't want to scare anybody that's going there, but it is the truth. You do have to be careful, and it is kind of closed. However, the moment, I mean, when you knock on the door, they don't even come out their front door. They like come out their window, and they're just like, "Who is it?" You know? And it's funny. I thought it was the funniest thing, or I thought it was the weirdest thing when I first was there. I was like, "Why doesn't anybody open their door? How rude! They just come out of their windows all the time." I don't understand this. And so, but then I understood that it was because a lot of people are afraid, and because there's a lot of things that will happen. So, anyways, but the moment that you can gain their trust, if you can just talk to them through the window, or if you can talk to them through having a member there who knows them, or there's so many different ways that you can do it to gain the trust of a Peruvian inside the center city of Lima. But once you've gained that trust, they embrace you. I mean, they just embrace you, and you feel so loved. It's like, I just have a family down there. I really do. I'd love to go back down there, and I know that I would just be received in open arms and taken care of, because the people just love. I mean, their capacity to love is so big. And so really it's just a matter of just getting past the trust wall that is just made there just because of the nature of the city. Once you get past that, the people are absolutely amazing, and they're super, super kind. So anyways, that's a little bit about the people. They're very, very family oriented. Super family oriented, and I think there's a lot of families or a lot of places in the world that are, but I just feel like you go to a house and this is really normal. I mean, you knock on the bottom door, and it's probably like the mom and dad, and then upstairs is their first kid, and then that's their second kid, and above that's their third kid, and the fourth kid, and all their families. And it's just like, when you move out, you just move upstairs, or you build another layer on top of your house, or you're living right next door, or you're living right behind. That's really, really normal, is that they will stick very close to each other. And that's really neat to see how close they are and how actively involved they are in each other's lives. I feel like it's a little bit more of a slower pace, and kind of just like breathe in and take in the moment a little. And their lunch is very important to them. And it's different because, this is something very interesting that I had to get used to, is that we'll eat dinner as our main meal. I mean, you come home and you eat together, and that's, kind of the typical family dinner is that. And then you have a big meal. But there it's actually for lunch. And so for breakfast, you'll eat something really small. And then for lunch, a lot of shops will close down, or a lot of people will go home, and you'll have lunch together. And lunch will be from 1 to 3. This isn't just, let's grab a sandwich and a soup or something. You have like a family dinner, but it's family lunch, I guess you could say. And you just eat, and you just have a good lunch. And I did find that very often. We would eat big lunches, and then for dinner we'd have like a bread, like a couple pieces of toast, and like some hot chocolate, or just something really simple, some fruit or cereal or something like that. We would just go back to our apartment and just eat something simple. And so anyways, that was kind of a culture difference that I had to get used to. And in the middle of the day, you're so full, and then you have to go out walking. You're just like, oh my word. But it's great because you burn all the calories after you eat them all. You get home and you barely eat anything, go to bed. It's such a healthy way to like live and eat. It's great. So anyways, that was something kind of different that I hadn't known. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Ellos me han pedido para hacer un mensaje para las personas que he conocido durante mi misión. allí en Perú. Entonces, disculpe porque tal vez mi español ha empeorado un poquito, pero ya, igual mi amor no ha cambiado para ustedes. Tengo tanto amor para ustedes. Hay tantas experiencias y tantas personas que he conocido por ahí. Y para conocer a ustedes ha sido una experiencia tan grande para mí. En verdad, para conocerles, ustedes han hecho me ha cambiado muchísimo. Me han enseñado bastante y realmente me han recibido como una familia y estoy tan, pero tan agradecido para eso.